Hello, fourth graders. If you're watching this, it's probably Saturday morning, and this is my bonus ELA lesson. Today we are going to take a look at sequence markers, and I'm going to talk about how we use them, and I'm going to show you a movie that I've put together that will illustrate how I use sequence markers, and then I'm going to give you a special challenge which you do not have to do if you don't want to, but if you're feeling like you got nothing to do today and tomorrow over the weekend and you want something to do and you want to practice your English, then you might enjoy this. So check this out and I'll be with you again in a moment. And we're back. Okay, so here's today's topic, sequence markers. You may very well have studied this in grade 2 or grade 3. This may very well be something that makes you go, yawn, I know this, and that's fine. But if we were at school and we were studying the Oliver Woodman story, this is something that we would be reviewing as part of our grammar, and so I'm doing it as an extra lesson because with our home study program, I've scaled things back, I've made things simpler, and so this was going to kind of fall through the cracks and not get covered, and I wanted to do this, and I had a really good idea come to me, which I'm going to explain in just a moment. But here are sequence markers. They are 5 words that we can use to explain a process. So we start with first and follow with next, then, after that, and finally. Some of you may be thinking, I think I can switch some of that. Like I can go first, then, next, after that, and finally. And the answer is yes, you can. Next, and then, and even after that, you can switch them around. I've done a lot of English teaching over the years, and this particular order is one that I have seen come up a few times, so I feel comfortable using them in this sequence, but you are free to switch up next and then and after that, especially if you ever start making a really long list where you have to have more than 5 steps, then you're going to have to switch up next and then and after that. What you never want to do is repeat. You never want to have first, next, 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 or you never want to have first, next, then, next, then. So variety is the key. Now, I said that I'm going to present an activity that allowed me to give you an example of how to use first, next, then, after that, finally, and I'm going to turn off the camera, and when the camera comes back on, you are going to be looking at some interesting work I did today, and I'm going to show you that, and then I'm going to give you a challenge, an activity of your own that I hope some of you will try. So I'll see you again in a moment. Hello everybody, and welcome to my bonus lesson on sequence markers. Today I'm going to give you an example of how I can use sequence markers to describe a process of something from start to finish. In this case, we are going to be planting these green pepper plants in my garden today, and I'm going to outline the process in 5 steps. First, next, then, after that, finally. So, here we go. These are my pepper plants. I'm going to be planting them in the garden area here. And I think you can already imagine what I'm going to start doing. First, I am going to clean out these dead tomato plants from last year, as well as all the weeds and general brush that has blown in over the winter and the last few days with the wind. After that is done, let me see, first I'm going to clean things up here. Next, I'm going to dig some holes. Then I'm going to plant my pepper plants in the holes. After that, I'm going to cover the plants with soil, and finally, I'm going to water them. All right? I'll take you through step by step as I go. I'm going to stop right now because I've got some digging to do. So first, I'm going to dig up these dried out dead tomato plants and all the weeds around them before I go to my next step. Okay, we're back. You can now see the tomato plants, those dried up plants from last year, are gone, and that was our first step. So it's time for step number 2. I'm going to say, first we pull up the plants. Next, we're going to dig some holes. So I've got my handy little shovel here because I don't need a big shovel to dig small holes for these pepper plants. I'm going to dig my holes now, and then I'm going to plant my plants in the ground. After that, I'm going to cover my plants with the soil, and finally, I'm going to water the plants. So here we go. We'll start digging. There we are. You can see soil is nice and dark brown. It's going to be good for growing. All right, I'm going to keep digging. I'll get back to you in a moment. All right, here we are on step 3. I've got 1, 2, 3, and you can see over there 4 holes dug. So reviewing, first I cleared out all the weeds and the dead plants, and next I'm going to dig my holes. Then I'm going to plant my pepper plants in the holes. After that, I'm going to cover the plants with some of this soil. And finally, I'm going to water my plants. So, first, pull up the weeds and the dead tomato plants. Finished. Next, dig the holes. Finished. Then, plant the pepper plants in the holes. That's what I'm doing right now. And I'm back again. All right, you can see the pepper plants are now in their holes, and I have covered the soil. Let's recap. First, I dug up the old tomato plants and the weeds. Next, I dug holes in the ground. Then I planted the pepper plants in the holes. After that, I covered the soil, or I covered the pepper plants. I covered their roots. Now I'm ready for the last step, the finally. Finally, I am going to water my pepper plants, give them a nice drink to help them grow. I'll be back in one moment for the final video. All right, here I am with my last chapter in the video series on first, next, then, after that, finally, the sequence markers that I'm teaching you about in today's bonus ELA lesson. I first pulled out the old tomato plants. Next, I dug holes in the ground. Then I planted my pepper plants in the holes. After that, I covered the pepper plants with soil. And finally, I am going to water my pepper plant. Not too much. These are just babies after all. Want them to grow strong and grow into beautiful pepper plants that I can eat. Now, my challenge for you is to think about some kind of a sequence of activities that you can present me and your classmates using the words first, next, then, after that, and finally. You can do this a number of ways. You can shoot a video, you can put it into a Google Slides or Google Doc if you know how to do that, or you can just email me 5 lines, 5 sentences with or without any kinds of pictures or video. Just 5 sentences, first, next, then, after that, and finally. And you can explain to me the 5 steps of anything. What you do when you get up in the morning. First I do this, next, then, after that, and finally. You can show me how you make something. Could be something you eat, or it could be something you play with. It could be your steps that you do when you're studying. First I do this, next I do this, then I do that, after that I do this. It could be the steps you do to get ready to go to bed. Anything. Use your imagination, be creative, and remember, you can do this by making a video. You can do this by taking some pictures and putting them into Google Slides or Google Docs. You can do it by just writing me an email. It's up to you. And this is, of course, open to every class, 4A, 4B, 4C. You can contact your teachers, or you can send it to me and I will pass it to your teachers. And let's have some fun with this. This is just a bonus lesson. Remember, you don't have to do this, but since it's part of the Woodman curriculum, normally I would be teaching sequence markers, first, next, then, after that, finally. I thought this would be something fun and a little bit different from what we've been doing in the regular Google Classroom. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and I'll see you again soon. Stay safe. Bye-bye.